Yo, God, the thing goes grrrr, pop, pop, tap, tap, tap. Skinny kid, pop, pop, and the poop, poop, boom.
Back to the daily grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Tyron the Tyrant Woodley's coming out and he's breaking his silence on multiple things on Ariel Helwani's show, the MMA Hour. And before I get further and you start typing your comment, yes, I know his nickname is not Tyron the Tyrant Woodley. I know it's the chosen one, but you gotta admit that that had a ring to it. Tyron the Tyrant Woodley, that's way better than the chosen one. Raging don't want with your name. Won't you try the ninja? Shout out to Cajun Johnson. Fuck you, time back. I don't know where that came from. But with that being said, Tyron Woodley is coming out and he's breaking his silence on the Nate Diaz fight and the Colby Covington drama. As much as he did not want to talk about Colby Covington, it just came up because as much as he's trying to deny and shush the Colby Covington fight talk because he wants to be a legend and he wants money fights, Colby Covington is steady barking and steady yapping and steady pressing charges and working his way up to be a name that everybody wants to see get beat by the chosen one, Tyron Woodley. Everyone's choosing Tyron Woodley to be the guy to come through and put fucking Colby Covington out of his misery. And Tyron Woodley just broke his silence. He tried not to. He tried to not even say his name. He acted like he forgot his name in the interview. And this video is not even supposed to be about Colby Covington, but that's the type of waves the kid is making. So let's get to what this video is about. This video is actually about an interview Tyron Woodley did before his interview today on the MMA Hour, where he went in on pretty much fucking everybody. And I gotta give Tyron Woodley his props because he's making sense in what he's saying, man. I don't give a fuck who you're a stan of. I don't care if you're a Connor stan. I don't care if you're a GSP stan or a Diaz dick rider. Tyron Woodley's got a fucking point. Check it out. He said, and this was on Tyron Woodley's show, The Hollywood Beatdown on TMZ. He said, I'm fired up about people that tell you don't be scared, homie, and then they're scared, homie. Tyron Woodley said, that's what I'm fired up about. Guys in our sport pump their gums quite a bit and they get you to think that they're these huge tough guys and they're these gangsters and that they'll fight anybody anytime, and then when you get in front of a person like me, Tyron the big dog, he didn't do that part, but he said when you get in front of a person like me, then the crickets come out and then they don't really want to fight. It happened with Bisping, it happened with GSP, it happened with Conor McGregor, it happened with Nick Diaz, Big Brother, and now it's happening with Baby Brother. So I guess it's in the bloodline. Yikes! Yikes! Damn! The thing goes about a boom, 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 boom. Yo, holy smokes, Tyron Woodley, let that motherfucker go. He fucking is not no casualties. He's done being nice. He's done sugarcoating it. He's saying, yo, literally every fucking one of these guys that can be a legendary or a money fight is ducking the bull. Fucking Tyron Woodley. Hey, I like that he said this because I'm not a Tyron Woodley dick rider, but he's got a fucking point, man. We've literally heard discussions of GSP versus Tyron. We've heard discussions of Conor versus Tyron. We've heard discussions of the Diaz brothers versus Tyron. We've heard discussions of Bisping versus Tyron. But for some reason, the other people never seem to make that fight. It always comes somewhere else. And I know if you're a GSP stan, you're going to say, oh, GSP, he wanted to fight Bisping and move up, and no, Tyron Woodley. And if you're a fucking a Conor stan, you're going to say, oh no, he wants, the fight doesn't make. Everybody, whoever you represent, you're gonna have an excuse for your fighter. But if you are unbiased, if you are just looking at this shit from afar, you see what Tyron Woodley is saying right here excuse me, is a fact. These people, it don't seem like nobody wants any smoke with them. And now people were giving Tyron Woodley slack for, for the Nate. Oh, why is he calling out Nate Diaz? How does that make sense? Why is he calling out the smarter fighter? Tyron Woodley addressed those critics today too. He said nobody has a problem when TJ Dillashaw calls out Demetrius Johnson or when these other fighters go weight classes, whenever Bisping's okay with fighting GSP. This isn't just me fighting a smaller fighter. This sets up multiple fights. It's a household name, and if I beat Nate Diaz, he's got direct ties to Conor McGregor and direct ties to Nick Diaz. So if I beat Nate Diaz, it would set up a fight versus me and Conor or me versus Nick. Could you imagine that? Tyron Woodley beating Nate Diaz and now it's time to fight Nick Diaz? That's crazy. So he's got a point. direct ties to Nick, who's somebody he also, actual welterweight he would fight. It would also make him a household name because Nate Diaz is a big star, and if he beats him, he could also fight fucking Conor, take his, Conor fight from him. So that's why Tyron Woodley wants to fight Nate Diaz. On top of it being a big money fight, it makes him a household name. So it's not like he just wants an easy fight. And Tyron Woodley, people always called, what was his nickname last year? Tyron. He's running from everybody. People said he was running from Wonderboy. They said he's running from Maya. Now they're saying he's running from fucking Colby Covington. And he brought up Colby Covington too. But all you people that called him Tyron, what do you say about all these other people that won't take the fight with Tyron Woodley? The people that we've heard about Conor possibly fighting for 3 belts. Oh, maybe if Nate Diaz beats Tyron, then Conor can go up and fight for 3 belts. Why don't we ever cut out the middleman and say, why don't Conor just go fight for fucking 3 belts now? You know what I'm saying? Why does it got to be versus Nate up there? If this happens, then that could happen. It could be the trilogy and a 3rd belt. No one's calling Conor McGregor Conor Runner because he's not fighting Tyron. No one says that. No one calls George St. Pierre fucking George St. P. Run because he's not fighting Tyron, or he's not, he does have to defend his belt versus Robert Whittaker. We'll see what happens in the George St. Pierre scenario. Some people are questioning when he's gonna fight again, because we all know George St. Pierre versus Conor McGregor is the biggest fight possible, and so we wonder how that could happen though. If he's got to fight Robert Whittaker, maybe have to get through Tyron Woodley, and then there's a lot of questions to be answered. So let's get back to the topic of this video, which is what Tyron Woodley was speaking about. Now, he brought up Colby Covington, and he said, everyone's talking about how Colby Covington is the only possible fight, but if you check these guys' resumes, or the only reason people think Colby Covington deserves a title shot is literally because he's talking trash. If you look at the Robbie Lawlers, if you look at the top guys of the division and their resumes compared to this guy's, it doesn't stack up. He beat Damian Maia. He said, I wrote the book on how to beat Damian Maia, and Colby Covington checked it out. I liked that line from Tyron Woodley. That was dope too. And hey, he's got a point. He does got a point. He talked about his injury and why he would be willing to fight Nate Diaz and not like Colby Covington December 30th. And he said it's not because Nate's smaller, so I feel like I can beat him with one arm. It's just that Nate Diaz, his style, it's not going to be as grinding of a style. I feel like I can fight Nate Diaz with the torn labrum, and I will say this, I disagree with this. I think this is bullshit on Tyron Woodley's part. As I said, I'm unbiased. I'll call this shit out. Tyron Woodley right here, this excuse I'm not buying. When he says, oh, I'll fight Nate Diaz because he's not going to be shooting for a lot of takedowns, so I feel like, with the torn labrum, it's still, I don't have to worry about the grinding style. It's like, okay, so why the fuck would we want to buy your fight versus Nate Diaz if you have an injury? What are you going to do? Throw us little shots that you threw against Damian Maia? If you still got a fucking torn shoulder, we don't want to see you just in the cage to be in the cage. If you got a torn motherfucking shoulder, dog, you better heal that shit up. Don't come in there throwing 4 punches and say, oh, it's because my shoulder. Nigga, you knew your shoulder was hurt before you got in the goddamn octagon, so you're going to have an excuse for another boring-ass fight? We don't want to see a boring-ass Tyron fight. You need to get that shoulder healed, so the next time you're in the octagon, there ain't no more excuses for why you're doing with this boring-ass fighting style that we've been giving you passes on. Oh, Damian Maia, he's you got to be careful when you fight Damian Maia, because if he does get on your back, if he does get you down, then it's over. Oh, you got to be careful with Wonderboy. He's a counter striker. You can't play into his game plan. Okay, those are viable excuses. But if you were going to a fight with Nate Diaz and you had a boring ass fight, hey man, get the fuck out of here because your shoulder injury that you knew was hurt when you're going in. So I don't like the excuse of, oh yeah, I'll fight him with the injured shoulder. It's like, yeah, you'll take the payday. You know what I'm saying? But I don't like that. So hopefully Tyron Woodley will just go ahead and get that fucking shoulder healed up, because with him saying his shoulder's still torn, honestly, I don't want to see the Nate Diaz fight if you're going into it telling me your shoulder's fucking torn. So he also did one last thing. He addressed Colby Covington. We already talked about his resume thing, but he also said he talked about he said, man, whenever Colby Covington came up training, I'm the only reason people gave him a chance. I'm like, hey, look, it's Colby, a new wrestler. Also, you know, there's cameras. I don't know why this guy's making up all these fucking lies when he knows in my gym there's cameras. I've got videos, but I'm not that type of guy. I'm not gonna release them or anything like that, but I just don't understand how he can come up with these lies, and he knows, you know, there's witnesses and video proof of his lies. He said, and I did tell him at Fox, you know, I'm gonna let you say whatever you want, but I'm not giving you any shine. I'm not addressing you. That's why he didn't want to address him in this interview. And one thing I thought in my head, though, low-key, last thought before I get out of here, Tyron, that's probably, you know, I thought about, man, what if Tyron Woodley only responded to Colby Covington on his podcast? Wouldn't that make motherfuckers listen? You know, if you, now this is, like I said, you can turn off the video. This is all side notes from here on out. But this is just a side note. You know, Tyron Woodley's got a podcast. He's doing the TMZ thing. I think that would help him build his brand, because that's why people listen to podcasts, and that's one of the critiques of Tyron Woodley's podcast. You know, he's a professional person, so it's like, what am I, you know, are you going to really hear anything on there controversial or entertaining? What makes me want to tune in? I tell you what, if I could only hear Tyron Woodley's responses to Colby Covington on his podcast, I'd have to download that motherfucker before work. You know what I'm talking about? So with that being said, man, Tyron Woodley's responding to the Nate Diaz fight rumors. He said he is in camp. He was just getting out at camp when he was getting on the phone. So he said, I'm preparing like I'm fighting Nate Diaz at UFC 219. But if not, it might not. There's 24 hours. They're supposed to get back to me. But with the Diaz brothers, who are not good at getting back to people, it might take 72 hours. He said 24 hours to us and 72 hours to them, so we'll see what happens. With that being said, you guys, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what the fuck you tap at in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.